Hi, I'm showing my face on social media. I feel a bit scared about this, but I'd love to do a garden tour like so many of the other garden tours that I see. Um, I live in a three-bedroom semi in the south of England, and I am trying to do some self-sufficiency on some limited scale. It's very limited due to the size of my garden and living in the middle of a housing estate. I'll show you around and see. Now, this is the west side of the garden. It gets the morning sunlight. And we'll go down there and have a look at some of the fruiting beds. This is my fruit bed. We'll go down and have a look. Here's my dwarf apple tree. It was planted last spring. Last year we had a bit of a drought in the south of England, so I picked all the fruit off when the leaves were drooping because I want the roots to go down into the soil. Hoping for a fruit crop this year. There were several apples even last year, but because it was struggling so much in the drought, I took the fruit off to allow it to concentrate on its roots last year. This blueberry bush is about 3 years old now. It's fruited really well the last few years. I'm not seeing as much blossom on it this year, although I think some is coming a little bit later. I gave it good feed with some tomato feed yesterday. We got some pine needles from the Christmas tree in there to keep the soil nice and alkaline for the... There's a little bee, it's just arrived. Oh, there he goes. The soil here is a very, very thick clay. You can see already in middle of April it's bone dry lumps. This fruit bed I was extending yesterday, and I've put a couple of alpine strawberries in because I'm trying to get more perennial fruit and veg in the garden. Put some mulch on it, and I've just turned it over because it was new this is new from the grass. I just turned it over and I've put a couple of alpine strawberries in. I don't know how they'll do, but I try to do minimal digging in the garden, so I've really just done the edge to mark the border. You can see there's massive roots in here still. So I've cut some flower pots down and I've put the copper taping on the edge to protect them from slugs. They're kind of planted inside the pot. There's a little bit more compost, and I've cleared the soil a bit better inside the pots just to protect them while I get on top of the soil around. And here's a blackberry. It was planted last year, and I've just seen some tiny gooseberries coming there. So this gooseberry bush is 3 years old. It only produced 2 gooseberries last year, but I am seeing quite a lot of blossom, and even some tiny gooseberries coming, which I'm really excited about. I've just spotted those right now. There's some more there. And then these are some raspberries I got off a free plant exchange. Probably the beginning, it's really 2 years ago, and they've started to spread now. I've had a handful of raspberries off them so far, and this gooseberry bush is a cutting from the previous one because I just wanted a bit more gooseberries. I love gooseberries. And at the moment I've got some potato bags. This one was planted about 2 weeks ago. This was planted in some not fully rotted homemade compost. And you can see we've got some nice strong shoots coming out. And this one was planted about a month ago. They're both first earlies. Here, I used to have a herb bed here probably 5 years ago or more. I haven't had any herbs, and all of a sudden this mint has come back, which I'm just letting it grow for now because I'd like to dry some this year, and it smells so delicious. And chamomile, I'm hoping to make some chamomile tea and dry some chamomile flowers. And this was done from seed last year. You can already smell how delicious it is. And some cornflowers. At the moment my strawberry planter there is completely empty because I'm not very good at watering it. I put some bluebells in a few years ago. So I keep this area quite wild. I was hoping to establish some native flowers on the like a forest floor, because I've got that's under 2 large trees, but I keep on standing on the bluebell, so I've put this frame on temporarily to try and protect them, remind me not to mow them or anything until they die down naturally. They need a good weed around this area, but I've been busy trying to get flowers in. See, I've got some good covering of wood chip in there as well. And there's another compost bin. That compost bin was new last year. It's starting to produce some compost, but I haven't cut everything down enough and it's all kind of stuck up. I need to turn it and sort that out at some stage. And there's some foxgloves. I love foxgloves. I've never had them in the garden before. I know they're poisonous, so I'm trying to keep them away from the food crops. Right, we're now in the sunniest corner of the garden. This is in a window off my son's old playhouse that I use to protect plants from the frost. And here I've got some sweet peas. They're probably ready to be planted out. I need to check whether they're frost hardy or not. And there's a strawberry that's doing rather well because it's been covered with the glass. Some parsley that survived the winter. I've just moved it along this way because it was up there and getting overcrowded. And I've put some thyme in. So it's my 3rd attempt at growing thyme. We use it a lot in the kitchen, but it dies off every winter for me. So I've just got a new one. I'm going to protect it this winter and see if I can keep it going. There's some baby lettuce. This bed was full with baby's lamb lettuce all winter, but I've pulled most of it up to make room for the herbs and to protect the sweet peas. I've left this because it's flowering and I thought I'd let some go to seed, see if I could save some of the seeds. I put some marigolds dotted around the garden this week, just to attract the bees, hopefully draw some pests away. Some marajam, I can't remember how to pronounce that herb. Sorrel, got some chives down there that have survived the winter, and at the end is my main crop of mint. I'm keeping it shut back a lot because this is the sunniest spot of the garden. I think it's a waste to have it here, so leaving the other one I just showed you, and I've got some planted in a shady corner. Once those crops have established, I will move this, cut it right back and make room for the crops. Here I've got 2 baskets, little plastic crates I caught off a free cycle. I've put them in the greenhouse. I don't have room for a polytunnel here. I don't want a polytunnel, but I'm trying to grow some salad crops, some early salad crops. These have been in about 3 or 4 weeks, and you can see some radishes are starting to grow there. I've got some rocket which I'm starting to harvest, and another bunch of chamomile. I'm still looking eagerly for my first buds on the chamomile at the moment. At the bottom is not doing quite so well, but these are spring onions, radishes, there should be some spinach, but it's not really germinated very well. There's a couple of leaves here and there, and that's a weed. I get that all over my garden. There's a little spinach sign my son made at school. And down here, it's a rhubarb. This is the 3rd year on this rhubarb crown. It's just doubled. I haven't picked any yet this year, but I'm hoping to go back making a rhubarb crumble later today. There's a purple sprouting broccoli. It's the only one that survived. I've attempted to grow purple sprouting broccoli for the last few years, but I always get attacked by the caterpillars. So this year, this is one I planted later in the year after the main caterpillar season, and it's done really well this spring, so I'm going to try that again this year. We've had 3 or 4 meals off of that single plant already. And here is a seed bed. I started planting it out last week, 3rd of April, there we go. Got a couple of clutches of pak choi. This is a row of carrots my son did, but I think they're starting to come up there. I don't know whether we can see it. I think there's a carrot. And I've got some beetroot seedlings just coming through over there as well. But this tend to be my more higher turnover bed we eat a lot of carrots and beetroot, maybe salads, and then maybe later in the season it'll be quite a small bed I can cover if I want to put any more brassicas in. This bed is new this year. It was planted up with asparagus. I tried asparagus last year and I think the crown's just rotted because of the clay soil. So I've built a new bed. It's mostly full of compost, about 50-50 of the homemade compost that wasn't fully rotted down at the bottom, and then some shop-bought peat-free compost on top. There were 4 crowns in here. I've got 3 shoots. We've got a tiny one there. I got one here. I put the sticks in to mark them, because they're really hard to find. And one here. And then I'm looking carefully. I'm hoping the other couple come up. But even now, I'm quite pleased that we've just got a few, because we're further than we got last year with this. And I put some nasturtiums on the edge because I love nasturtiums, and there's no way the asparagus is going to take up the whole bed this year. This bed has a stinging nettle, and we had some nettle tea a few weeks ago from it, but I always said, oh, I wish I had some nettles in the garden, meaning I wish I had a bigger garden with lots of nettles for the butterflies and to make plant food from. And then one grew out in our garden, and my son cared for it all last summer so carefully, and he was giving me updates on it and its growth, and I just didn't have the heart to pull it up. I'm going to harvest some of this and dry some of the leaves for nettle tea, and then I will be removing that as I need the space. Here, these parsnips, I didn't date them, but they've been in longer than the asparagus. I've marked each one individually this year because they do take quite a while to germinate, and I was playing what's weed, what's parsnip for so long last year, and I don't know whether I pulled up a couple of parsnips, but we did have a nice crop. And then this side, they're my cornflowers. They self-seeded from last year, so I'm just going to let those flower while I've got the space. This is the garlic bed. There's 2 different brands of garlic. I didn't plant them till January when I intended to plant them in the autumn. But this is doing well. These, I don't know what's wrong with them. I'm going to give them a bit more of a feed, keep watering them and see what happens. Here is a leftover parsnip. It's tiny, so I might just let that go to seed if it doesn't get too much in the way of the garlic. At the moment, I'm not sure if the garlic's even going to survive. Here, I've got a bunch of bluebells. These were planted at the same time as the ones at the back, but these have been left alone for a couple of years, and they are starting to establish now and look quite nice. And then next to that is some Jerusalem artichoke. These were planted last year. As you can see, we had 4 big stems from last year. We've had a couple of meals out of those over the winter, and they're shooting really well this year, so we'll be harvesting them more next year because I don't want them to spread too much. I'll probably harvest the left-hand side to give the bluebells more room. That is just the clay mess at the moment. It needs a good mulch. It's got a cultivated poppy at the end and some clematis, which was growing up over the fence, but I cut it right back because it was just getting tangled mess. And then some snowdrops. Those big leaves are the leftovers of the snowdrops. So this is my onion bed. It's got a few volunteer potatoes. Here's one that I didn't harvest properly last year. I'm just watching those at the moment. I'll probably have to pull them out because they're just going to disturb the onions. And we did have a successful onion crop last year, and we had about 6 months worth of onions. I'll see if I can find a photo of those. And those peas I bought as seedlings because I don't have much luck in germinating peas. I bought the seedlings last week and I put them in yesterday. So I'm keeping an eye on those, making sure they establish okay. And that's my garden really, that's the wildlife corner. That's where I started the video. I have a fire pit there. And just a pile of sticks in the corner. I have a little mindfulness table. I don't know whether you can see it. See if I can zoom in. Yeah, it's got a little Buddha on. At the moment it's got half an orange that the insects are really enjoying. And there is a wildlife pond in there somewhere. But the last few years this area has been like 1 metre, 2 metres high. I'm slowly starting to try and tame it around the edges a little bit because it does get a bit much and it was pushing against the neighbour's fence, which is not ideal. There's also been a rat problem in the garden, so keeping an eye on that at the moment. This corner is going to be tamed right back just to make sure they're not nesting in that corner, which I think they might be. I've got 2 Christmas tree trunks there. I've got a string of solar lights that I want to put up, and I'm not quite thinking how I can do that. I have them draped around the patio. I have a water butt. I'm hoping to get another second water butt on that downpipe. It's a picnic table, it needs refurbishing. Well, I finished editing that a couple of days ago. If you've watched this far, thank you very much. I don't know whether I will ever make another video at this stage, but thanks for watching, and please do comment, subscribe if you want to. If I get a few subscribers, it would encourage me to make another. Thanks again. Bye.